Hello students, welcome to Zoology Classroom. This is Yal Mahesh, Assistant Professor of Zoology from Tara Government College, Sangareddy. In today's class, we are going to discuss about Coelenterata or Nidaria general characters. This topic comes under BSc first year Zoology first semester. So Coelenterata or Nidaria, both are the same terms, and this is a phylum in animal kingdom. And Leucott in 1847 for the first time used the word Nidaria. This term Nidaria actually is derived from two Greek words, one Greek word and one Latin word. In Greek, nide means nettle, and in Latin, area means like or connected with. So in these organisms, some needle-like structures are present. So that's why this term has been assigned to these animals. And Nidaria is also called by another name, Coelenterata. Why? Because in their bodies, they have a special empty structure, which is equivalent to archenteron, digestive cavity in other animals. That is called as coelenteron. So as all these organisms are having coelenteron, they got this name Coelenterata also. And all the organisms that come under this phylum Coelenterata or phylum Nidaria, all of them are very diverse, colorful animals, and they exhibit radially symmetrical bodies, and which are also known as the flowers of the sea. So the animals of these organisms are called as flowers of the seas. This phylum Nidaria or Coelenterata contains more than 10,000 living species. Among them, mostly marine animals are there. Only a few species, like 20 species of animals are living in freshwater bodies. And examples for Nidarians include Hydra, a very well-known animal to all of us. And apart from these very famous and beautiful animals, corals also come under the Coelenterata phylum. And Portuguese man of war, jellyfishes, sea anemones, sea whips, sea pens, and sea fans. So these are the a variety of animals that come under this phylum Coelenterata. Their variety and diverse colorful symmetry body forms and complex life histories attracts the scientists. And they are diversely and abundantly distributed in tropical waters, in tropical seas especially. And they have calcareous skeletons which form the framework of the reefs and atolls in most tropical seas. So we know that in most tropical seas, coral reefs are there, and all these coral reefs are formed with the skeletons of, especially calcareous skeletons of these coelenterata. And the famous reef is the Great Barrier Reef. This Great Barrier Reef is lying along the northeastern coast of Australia. And the length of this Great Barrier Reef is around 2,000 kilometers. And this Great Barrier Reef is made up of the calcareous skeletons of Nidarians or coelenterates only. So coming to the general characters of these coelenterates, first of all, let us see the level of organization. And these are the first animals that exhibit tissue level of organization. We have seen in our previous class that poriferans are the multicellular organisms, but in those poriferans, we do not find tissues. They are just having multiple cells in their bodies, but the cells are not organized into tissue. So in the animal kingdom, for the first time, tissues have been developed in these coelenterate only. And different tissues perform different functions in these organisms. That's why it is said that these coelenterates are exhibiting tissue level of organization. And habitat of these organisms, all are aquatic animals and mostly marine animals, except a few, just as we have already discussed, just a 20 species, around 20 species only are living in freshwater habitats. Out of those 20 species, Hydra is a very famous one. We know this from our schooling. And body forms. Body forms of these organisms vary considerably. Many colonial Nidarians like Obelia are trimorphic. That means they are available in 3 forms. And each form in these organisms is called as a zooid. So as Obelia is a trimorphic organism, it will have 3 types of zooids. And those 3 types of zooids are polyps, blastocysts, and medusae. And some other organisms, they are having only 2 forms. Then they are called as dimorphic. In the case of dimorphic organisms, they will have only polyp and medusae forms. And in some animals, in this phylum Coelenterata, they're also having more than 3 types of forms are also present in them. So that feature or that phenomenon is called as polymorphism. And the organisms which are exhibiting this polymorphism are undoubtedly colonial organisms. And coming to the lifestyle, polyforms are sessile. That means they are sedentary. They do not move. They will attach to a substrate. And all these polyforms are asexual stages. That means they reproduce asexually. And medusae forms are free living. That means they swim freely in the waters. And this medusae phase in their lifestyles stays for a shorter period of time. And these medusae, they reproduce sexually. Hence, medusa are called as sexual stage. In symmetry, all these organisms, they exhibit radial symmetry. As all of them are having cylindrical bodies, we can find radial symmetry in these organisms. So in some organisms, biradial symmetry is present, and in some other organisms, pentaradial symmetry is also present. So anyhow, we can conclude that all these organisms exhibit radial symmetry. And coming to germ layers, these Nidarians or coelenterids are diploblastic animals. That means in their embryonic development, only 2 germ layers will be seen. Those 2 germ layers are called as ectoderm and endoderm. So as these bodies are, the bodies of these organisms are made up of only 2 germ layers, that is ectoderm and endoderm. These organisms are called as diploblastic animals. And the body wall of these organisms, the body wall consists of 2 layers, and outer one is called as epidermis and inner one is called as gastrodermis. In between these 2 layers, a non-cellular gelatinous layer also is present. That non-cellular gelatinous layer is called as mesoglia. And in this diagram, we can see that the middle one, this is the mesoglia, and the outer layer, this is the outer layer, this is epidermis, and this is the inside of this body. This layer of cells is present inside of this body. So this is called as a gastrodermis. And inside the gastrodermis, there is a cavity. This cavity is called as coelenteron. As they are having coelenteron in their bodies, all these organisms, the phylum of these organisms got the name Coelenterata. And in these two layers of cells, epidermis and gastrodermis, different types of cells are present in these cells. And these different types of cells, they perform different types of functions. So first of all, let us observe about the epidermal cells. The epidermis consists of the following cells. 5 types of cells are present in the epidermis. First type in these epidermis cells is epitheliomuscular cells. These epitheliomuscular cells, they provide protection and they act as muscles. The contractibility of the body of these organisms is due to these epitheliomuscular cells. And the second one is nidoblasts. These nidoblasts are called as stinging cells. The name of the Nidaria is due to the presence of these nidoblast cells only. And nidoblast is also called by another name, nematoblast. And this nematoblast or nidoblast, it will have a cyst-like structure in its body that is called as nematocyst or stinging organ. So here in this slide, we can see two diagrams, diagram A and diagram B. So in this diagram A, this is undischarged nidoblast, and diagram B represents the discharged nidoblast. In both these phases of nidoblast, we can see that a sac-like structure. So this is a sac-like structure. And here in this diagram, this is the sac-like structure. So these sac-like structures are called as nematocyst. And this nematocyst is also called as stinging organ. So the nematocyst consists of a capsule. So it is having a capsule, and inside this capsule, a shaft and a thread tube is present. When the nematocyst is in undischarged condition, the shaft and this thread tube, they are coiled around this shaft and they are present inside this capsule. When it is in discharged function, shaft comes out of this capsule and thread forcibly penetrates into the be it a good organism or be it a enemy, it penetrates into that other organism's body, and it will inject some kind of toxin into that other organism's body, so that the other organism will be paralyzed, and this organism, this can be escaped from that place, or it can engulf that if that is an prey organism. So the nematocysts are, the use of these nematocysts are, on the whole, the use of this nematoblast or nidoblast is that they are used for the defense and offense. And third type of cells which are present in this epidermis are interstitial cells. These interstitial cells are ridgeal cells and are called as totipotent cells. Why? Because these interstitial cells, they can give rise to any type of any other type of cells if there is a necessity. So these interstitial cells are like totipotent cells. They can form any other type of cell when the other type of cells are required in the organism's body. And fourth type of cells present in this epidermis are nerve cells. And all these nerve cells, they are primitive nerve cells. And all these nerve cells present in the epidermis, they join together with each other and they form a net-like structure, a reticulum-like structure in this epidermis layer. And fifth type of cells present in this epidermis are sensory cells, and they are sensory in function. They used to know the what is happening around this organism. And nematoblast and nematocyst, both are not equivalent. Nematocyst is a part of nematoblast or nidoblast. Let us know the differences between these two. Nematoblast is a cell present in the epidermis, and nematocyst, it is a structure present inside the nematoblast. And nematoblast is called as stinging cell, whereas the nematocyst is called as stinging organ. And nematoblast consists of cell membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus, nematocyst, etc. Whereas this nematocyst, it consists of capsule, shaft, and the tube. So, and this is used for this defense and offense purposes. And second layer in the body wall of these organisms is gastrodermis. This gastrodermis, it consists of 6 type of cells. Out of the 6 type of cells, first type of cell are nutritive muscular cells or digestive cells. These nutritive muscular or digestive cells, they perform intracellular digestion. They engulf the food material into the cytoplasm, and they digest the engulfed food materials. In this way, they help in the digestion process. And as they are having muscular function also, they also help in the contraction, relaxation of the body of the organism. Second type of cells are gland cells. They secrete digestive enzymes for extracellular digestion. This extracellular digestion takes place in the coelenterata. So the food particles taken into the coelenterata, mostly they are digested extracellularly. The extracellular digestion requires some type of digestive enzymes, and these enzymes are secreted by these gland cells. So the gland cells, they help in the extracellular digestion. And interstitial cells are also present in this gastrodermis. They also do the same function as the interstitial cells in epidermis does. And nerve cells, they are also having the same features like epidermal nerve cells. They also are a very primitive type of cells, and they form a network-like structure in this body. So we can say that there are 2 networks of nerve cells in the body wall of the coelenterata. One is in the epidermis, another network of nerve cells is in the gastrodermis. And next one is sensory cells. These sensory cells help to perceive the sensations or what's happening around. And the interstitial cells and nerve cells and sensory cells, they are all these 3 types of cells are similar to the cells which are present in the epidermis. And coming to the digestion, so as these organisms are lacking organs and organ systems, and digestive system is also not present. So how the digestion occurs in these organisms? So the Nidarians, they are having a central gastrovascular cavity or coelenterata, and this coelenterata opens to the exterior through a mouth. So, and they are having only one mouth, and this mouth itself acts as anus also. So the digestive system is not a special system in these organisms. Coelenterata itself is acting as a digestive system. That's why the coelenterata is also called as gastrovascular cavity. And the gastrovascular cavity has a single opening. The single opening will serve as a mouth and as well as anus also. And with the help of tentacles, they will engulf the food materials, or they will throw the food materials into this gastrovascular cavity. So inside this gastrovascular cavity, extracellular digestion will take place. Some of the food materials that entered into the gastrovascular cavity will engulfed by some of the gastromuscular cells. They intracellularly digest those food materials. So both intra and extracellular digestions are taking place in these organisms. And how the respiration and excretion occur in these organisms. And for this respiration and excretion, these two things are carried out through body surface only by diffusion process. So for this purpose of respiration and excretion, no special cells or no special tissues are there in these bodies. So through the body layer or body surface, through this internal surface and through the external surface, through both these two surfaces, the respiration and excretion takes place. And ammonia is the chief excretory waste material in these organisms. And circulatory system, it is absent in this animals, in this phylum. And circulation of materials, if it requires, will be done by amoebocytes, which are present in the mesoglea. And nervous system, and as we have already discussed, a very primitive form of nervous system is present in these organisms. We can say that for the first time in the animal kingdom, nerve cells are present in these coelenterats only. And the nervous system consists of a network of nerve cells and their processes. Apart from these two nerve networks, one in the epidermis and another one in the gastrodermis. Some sensory organs or sensory cells are also present. So the sensory structures include statocysts and ocelli. Statocysts are they are sense organs for balance. With the help of the statocysts, the Nidarians, they maintain their body balance. And in the animal kingdom, for the first time, statocysts is seen in these Nidarians only. And some other organisms, ocelli are also present. Ocelli are light-sensitive structures. They are helpful to the organism in identifying light sources. And coming to skeleton, and mostly these coelenterats are having soft bodies. So most of the coelenterats, they lack skeleton in their bodies. Exoskeleton or endoskeleton, both are absent in many of the coelenterats. But in some coelenterats, especially in coral organisms, they are supported by a horny or calcareous skeletons. Mostly in many organisms, the skeleton will be outside of the body, so it is called as exoskeleton. And in some organisms, it may be internal also, then it will be called as endoskeleton. So in some organisms like corals only, endoskeleton or exoskeleton are present. In remaining organisms, skeleton is absent. When skeleton is present, it gives support to the organism body. And coming to the reproduction, in these organisms, both asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction methods can be seen. Asexual reproduction is done by budding, and in sexual reproduction, gonads are there in the bodies of these organisms, and these gonads are bud-like structures. These gonads or gonad buds will be developed from the interstitial cells. These interstitial cells also they form these gametes, and regeneration is also well developed in these organisms. So coming to development, cleavage is holoblastic, and direct or indirect development is found in these organisms. When direct development occurs, no larval form will be there. In indirect development, larval stage will be there in the life history of the organism. So in indirect development, we can find planula larva in Obelia, and in some other organisms, different type of larvae also present. Like in Aurelia, apart from planula larva, Scyphistoma larva and Ephyra larva also present. So in some organisms, indirect development is there, and in other organisms, direct development without any larval stage will be there. And metagenesis, as we have seen, many of these organisms are either dimorphic, trimorphic, or polymorphic. So in these organisms, we can find a special feature or phenomenon called as metagenesis. In Obelia, polyps reproduce medusae asexually, and medusae form polyps sexually. So polyps form medusae and medusae form polyp. Such alternation of asexual and sexual phases in the life cycle is called as metagenesis in the coelenterata. And in some other organisms, like in plants, we can find another characteristic feature or another phenomenon called as alternation of generation. Here, this metagenesis is not equivalent to the alternation of generations. Why? Because in some plants which exhibit alternation of generations, in those plants, haploid phase alternates with a diploid phase. Haploid form alternates with a diploid form. So if that happens, it is called as alternation of generations. But here in these coelenterata, both polyp forms and medusae forms, both are diploid organisms. So it is quite different from alternation of generations. So this phenomenon is called as metagenesis. It is well present in these coelenterata. And coming to the unique features of the coelenterata, presence of nidoblasts or stinging cells is a very unique feature. They help in defense and offense purposes. And network of nerve cells are also a very special feature. So a primitive nervous system is arisen in these organisms for the first time. And polymorphism also is present in these organisms, which cannot be seen in any other animal kingdom, animal phyla. So these are the having nidoblasts, network of nervous system, and polymorphism are the unique features of these organisms. Apart from these unique features, we can also mention that having coral forms, coral organisms also a special feature of these coelenterata. So coming to the coral forms, not only coelenterata, some other phyla also help in the process of formation of corals. That's why we cannot say that having coral forms is only limited to the coelenterata phyla. Apart from coelenterata, some protozoans also help in the formation of corals and coral reefs. And advancement over sponges. Sponges are the organisms that belong to phylum Porifera, which is the earlier phyla. So after sponges, only these coelenterata have evolved in the course of evolution. So what are the special features or advanced features are present in the coelenterata when compared to sponges? That is tissue level of organization is one. So we have not seen tissues in sponges, but in these organisms, tissues are present. And digestive system also is present, even though it is incomplete. It is having only one opening. That single opening is acting like mouth and anus. So this digestive system also developed for the first time in these organisms. So that is also an advanced feature over sponges. And having nerve cells and sensory cells are also advanced characters over the sponges. So this is about this general characters of these organisms. In next class, we will discuss another topic. Till then, thank you.